What's going on YouTube? The Pokemon TCG Toronto Regionals 2019 just concluded this past weekend. Toronto was played in the expanded format, and what is interesting about this format is that not many people enjoy playing it, be it being hard for new players to get into, or the amount of cards available in the format pool making it difficult to make a meta call. Or maybe just flat out not wanting to play it, to be honest. That's my big thing. I play a lot of Standard, Expanded kind of just turns me away. But you know what, Expanded's pretty fun though, especially considering that one of my favorite decks, and for that matter, one of my favorite players, took home the win. So we of course are going to be talking about Night March. So without further ado, today's deck showcase is Jimmy Pendarvis's first place Night March from Toronto Regionals 2019. So if you guys aren't familiar with what Night March does, it's very, very similar to what Lost March does. Pretty much my favorite deck in the Standard format. So Night March does 20 times the amount of Pokemon in your discard pile that have the attack Night March. So we have a bunch of different Pokemon that have said attack. We'll get into the discard pile with a bunch of different means, and it's going to be hitting really, really hard. So without further ado, let's start off with Joltik. 30 HP, you got to be wary of that. Weakness to fighting type Pokemon. So it's going to be going down to Buzzwole, Baby Buzzwole, Lycanroc. Every now and then you actually see a Baby Lycanroc, so a Baby Lycanroc, Lucario, things of that nature. Don't worry about the first attack. Literally the only thing we care about is literally just Night March. So Night March, like I mentioned, 20 times the amount of Pokemon in your discard pile that have the Night March attack. It does have a resistance to Steel type, and it has a 1 retreat cost. So that's playing 4 copies of that. 4 copies of Pumpkaboo. So 60 HP, Psychic type, first attack Ram, don't worry about it. Second attack, Night March. However, instead of costing 2 colorless like Joltik does, it actually costs 3. So it does the same thing, it just costs a little bit more. It is weak to Dark type Pokemon, Zoroark running around everywhere. It's going to easily get it. Honestly, it's going to easily get it anyway if it just gets a base 120 attack anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Does resist fighting, so keep that in mind. And a 2 retreat cost. And the last Night Marcher that we have, it's actually the one we're not going to be attacking with, if that makes any sense. Lampent, 70 HP Psychic type. If you guys noticed, it is a stage 1, but we are not playing no Litwick. Night March, 1 Psychic, 2 colorless, cost is different. And weak to Dark, resistance to fighting. However, none of that really matters. Why? This is the one that is just going to go straight into the discard pile. Kind of similar how Trumbeak is with Lost March, where it just goes straight into the Lost Zone without having to evolve it and things of that nature. So there we have that. Now we need a bunch of support to make sure that we get all our resources. So starting off, we're going to go with the big guys. Tapu Lele GX here for the Wonder Tag ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to your bench, search your deck for a supporter, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. However, you can attack with this if you'd like. 2 colorless, does energy drive times 20 times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. So if we only run DC in this deck, it's already going to be doing 40 on our end, so it all really depends on what our opponent is running as well. Tapu Cure, ignore it, no weakness, no resistance, and a 1 retreat cost. Then, we need to go through the deck very, very quickly. 2 copies of Shaman EX, 110 HP. Setup is here for the ability when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. Pretty much making sure that your turn continues. So you're going to be playing this, making sure your hand goes down in size, and then set up so you can keep going. However, you can attack if you'd like with this thing. Sky Return for 2 colors does 30 damage. Main reason for attacking with this is because of the effect on Sky Return. Return this Pokemon and all cards attached to it to your hand. So it means you're going to attack, it's going to go back to your hand, so not only do you save a Shaman for the next turn, but you also save the double colors you used. If you have anything else from a Choice Band to a Floatstone, things of that nature, all that stuff returns with it as well. So keep in mind, that's pretty cool. We're playing 2 copies of this guy, a weak to Lightning, so Zekrom, Pikachu, Zekrom running around. Resistance to fighting, so, it kind of weakens up the hits from that Hitmonchan running around and expanded. And then, the last big guy that we're playing is Marshadow GX, 150 HP, fighting type. The ability, and to be honest, is what we're going to be focused on. We're not going to look at anything else. The ability Shadow Hunt. This Pokemon can use the attacks of any basic Pokemon in your discard pile. So it can copy. You obviously do need the energy that's needed for that attack, but you're going to be copying Joltik. So you want to make sure you have at least 1 Joltik in the discard pile so you can copy that Night March attack. And the main reason for this is because of the fighting type that Marshadow has. A lot of people in the past have used like Mew, for example, but because of how the meta is right now with a lot of Zoroark and Pikachu Zekrom running around, they go for Marshall GX to hit for weakness. However, this is weak to Psychic as well, no resistance, and a 1 retreat cost. And then we need a little bit of like draw support in the form of Pokemon, so we'll start off with Oranguru. Instruct is the ability, once during your turn, before you attack, you may draw cards until you have 3 cards in your hand. So it kind of, you know, keeps your turn going, keeps your plays going. That's the important part. Again, you can attack with Oranguru if you absolutely need to or want to, but a lot of people opt out. Psychic, for 3 colorless, 60 plus, this attack does 20 more damage times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. To be honest, it doesn't really happen. You're really here just for the Instruct ability. Weakness, 2 fighting, and a 2 retreat cost. And then the final card we're playing is Let Loose Marshadow, 70 HP. Here for just the ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may have each player shuffle their hand into their deck and draw 4 cards. So a little bit of disruption on your opponent's side. And what's cool here is, like, if you can let loose into a Shaman, you're at least going to be getting some more cards out of that situation. So that's pretty cool there. But that is our Pokemon lineup there. And then going into our supporter lineup, what I like about Expanded is supporter lineups tend to be a little weird, depending on the deck as well. But it tends to be weird because not a lot of supporters actually get played. So let's start off. 3 copies of Professor Juniper, basically Professor Sycamore as well. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. There's 3 copies of that, and then we play 3 other supporters. 1 copy of Guzma, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. If you do, switch your active with one of your bench. 1 copy of N, each player shuffles his or her hand into their deck, then each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards, well, remaining. And then the final supporter we're playing is Teammates. You can play this card only if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your last turn. Search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. You don't have to show the 2 cards from the Teammates, so you can grab whatever you want. Usually, though, it's probably to follow up a knockout. So say, for example, if they get a Joltik KO, you have another Joltik, you'll probably get something like maybe a Choice Band DCE or maybe like an Electro Power DCE, something like that. You know, anything to continue the flow of what Night March has going for it. But yeah, Expanded is weird because of, well, really the supporter choices are very, very slim to, well, there's plenty of options, by the way, but decks tend to not really play that very many. Going into our item cards, we're playing 4 copies of Battle Compressor. This is our main engine to get our Night Marches into the discard pile. Search your deck for up to 3 cards, discard them, shuffle your deck afterwards. So, of course, we're going to be aiming for Night Marches. Usually, I see a lot of people going for the Lampents as soon as possible. However, if you don't have the best hand in the world, you can also send, like, a supporter card, an N, a Juniper, a Teammates, and something to try to fix your hand. Because if you have a VS Seeker in your hand, we'll get into that in a little bit, you can also just follow up the Battle Compressor supporter play into VS Seeker supporter to use supporter. So that's pretty interesting to note as well. Then we're playing our only A-Spec because we're only allowed 1 of these. If you guys aren't familiar, this is a type of card that can only, obviously it's only an Expanded, but the way that it works is you can only have 1 A-Spec. There's like 12, there's probably more than 12. But you can only play 1 A-Spec in total, so you can't play 1 dowsing with something. It's very similar to Prism cards. However, you know, other decks play multiple Prism cards. Here, you can only play 1 A-Spec card. So our A-Spec of choice is Dowsing Machine. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you can't discard 2 cards, you can't play this card. Put a trainer card from your discard pile into your hand. So it's basically, if you guys notice, we will be playing a lot of 1-ofs or a lot of like 2-ofs of certain cards. Dowsing Machine is going to be there to help us get those cards back, especially the stadiums. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. 2 copies of Electro Power. I was always wondering how Night March was going to work in Expanded. I just felt like there's something wrong. You know, I don't think it was strong enough anymore. Electro Power changes that. So during this turn, your electric Pokemon's attack do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's basically a built-in choice band, but it could work for anything, not necessarily a GX or EX. But Electro Power, helping out the Joltics, increase their damage output, playing 2 of those. 1 copy of Escape Rope. Each player searches their active, or each player switches, not searches, switches their active with one of their bench, and your opponent switches first, which is pretty cool there. 1 copy of Field Blower. Choose up to any 2 of any combination of tools or stadiums in play, and discard them. And it says up to, so you don't necessarily have to do 2. 3 copies of Order Pad. Flip a coin. If heads, search your deck for an item card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. So imagine playing, you know, have nothing, but you have Order Pad. You use Order Pad, and you get the heads, you search for a battle compressor, and boom, plays start opening up. You know what I mean? So it's going to be searching out cards that you need, maybe in the form of VS Seeker or battle compressor to get the engine going. One copy of Rescue Stretcher. You choose one, put a Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand, or you shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. So it usually depends on the situation that you find yourself in. One copy of Special Charge. Shuffle 2 special energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. This is important because a lot of people are running around playing Enhanced Hammer in this format, just because special energy are more prominent in this format, because you have Strong Energy, DCE, Mystery Energy, a bunch of different special energies being played, Double Dragons, the things like that. So we want to make sure that we save our DCEs. So it's basically like playing 6 DCEs in this deck. 4 copies of Trainer's Mail. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a trainer card you find there, except the Trainer's Mail, and put it into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. 4 copies of VS Seeker. Put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. Very, very important there. For other items, 2 copies of Choice Band. The attacks of this card attached to do 30 more damage to your opponent's active GX and EX Pokemon. Very, very standard. And then 1 copy of Floatstone. The Pokemon this card is attached to has no retreat cost. Going into our Stadium cards, we are actually playing 3 Stadium cards, and they're all 1-ofs, but you can get them back with Dowsing Machine. So, Dimension Valley, each Psychic Pokemon's attack, both yours and your opponent's, cost colorless less. So that means our Phantom, not our Phantom, our Pumpkaboo is going to be hitting for just a DCE. Parallel City has 2 different effects. You can choose which way this card is played. The red side is any damage done by water, grass, and fire is reduced by 20, and the other side is reducing bench size to 3. And the final Stadium card is Silent Lab. Each basic Pokemon in play in each player's hand and in each player's discard pile has no ability. So it shuts down, executes Marshadows, Shaymins, Tapu Lele, things of that nature. So it's something to look out for. Shuts down the Shuckle GX as well. That's very, very important as well. Which is pretty cool, but yeah, interesting. Only 3 Stadium cards. And the final cards we're playing on the deck is, of course, the Energy. 4 copies of a double colorless Energy. But this is the Night March list that Jimmy Pendarvis took to a first place finish at Toronto Regionals 2019. Congratulations, Jimmy. I know you'll probably never see this, but yeah, dude, I love this deck. I love it so much. But it looks like that's going to be a wrap for today's video. Make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know down in the comment section below if you like Night March or you're just tired of seeing it. I love it, but I kind of see where you guys are coming from if you guys are tired of seeing it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace!